Well, welcome to the technical / surgical part of the video. I promise you there'll be no blood here. This will be a fairly safe environment. We'll be using tools that you might find in your garage, but probably a lot cleaner. So the first part of a shoulder replacement procedure is typically working on what we call the humerus, or the part of the bone that goes down the arm. Now normally in the operating room, this would be covered with tendons and muscles. These little knobs you see here are actually the attachment sites of the rotator cuff. And again, those are the tendons that help you lift your arm over your head and move your arm in certain positions, throw a baseball, hit a tennis ball, things of that nature. And so they actually attach on these little knobs. They're called tuberosities. And this little groove you see right here, well, this is where the biceps tendon lives. We typically cut it and reattach it somewhere else on the shoulder up in here usually. So that gets the biceps out of the way. So the landmark that we use when we're making the cut for what we call the humeral head, so we're going to basically remove the top portion of the humerus, which is called the humeral head. And we typically remove it along what we call the anatomic neck. And so there is a specific landmark we look for. Oftentimes though with arthritis, this landmark can be hidden by large bone spurs or funny growths of bone, or if you had an old fracture, it might be kind of flattened out. But that's typically what we look for as our landmark. And so we're going to take a oscillating saw. And the first implant we're going to do today is what we call a stemless implant. This is called a simplicity implant, but it is stemless, which means it only goes so far down the bone. Now the advantage of this is it's bone preserving. So instead of going all the way into the humerus, it just comes into the top part. Typically means less blood loss, shorter surgical time, less potential for fracture, post-traumatic fracture, things of that nature. But primarily it's bone preserving. So if we ever have to remove this for any reason, there's still bone left over to put a new implant in there in a fairly secure fashion. So this is the type of implant we're going to start with. And we're going to make a cut, and this is the type of saw that we use in the operating room. It's an oscillating saw, so it goes back and forth quite rapidly. And that's what we're going to use to remove the humeral head. Great bone quality. Typically it's not that dusty in the operating room, but excellent bone quality on this specimen. So now we're going to place the sizer. This allows us to put a pin in the center of the bone that we just removed. So we'll place this pin right in the center. And we want to wait until it gets almost to the outside or just outside the bone, where it perforates there. So there's the pin right there on the side of the humerus. And now we're going to have a reamer that allows us to smooth this surface. So you can see how important just it is to have that centered nicely. This will slide over the top. And we have a nice smooth surface. There might be a little ridge. And again, a little cleaning up here, a little Hollywood. Make it look good. Now we're going to create the pocket where the stemless component is going to go into the bone. So this will slide over that pin. So we're going to carefully drill into the bone here. And so the actual implant, or this is what we call a blaze, we're going to create a more formal space. And these are sharp little blades that are going to cut into the bone where the implant will be inserted. We'll carefully impact that. That looks good, nice and flat. So that creates almost a Mercedes or chevron type cut into the bone. And that's exactly how the implant is shaped. So we'll remove the guide pin. Now the implant itself, you can see, has again that porous coating that is titanium, so the bone will grow onto that quite readily. And so we're going to align the fins of the implant with the little spliced areas that we cut. And that is nicely inserted there, flat onto the cut surface. That's removed. And there's the actual implant. And then this is the head that will be impacted into that center hole. This is cobalt chrome. The chrome is what makes it shiny. And we're going to impact that on top. And that is a stemless humeral implant.